In the fulfilment of my duties, I frequently travel abroad, as well as up and down the British rail network. Although the British are generally quite polite and just pass furtive glances at this exotically robed figure, there are always some who ask who or what I am. I explain that I am an Orthodox bishop. Greek? No, British. Their bewildered look increases, so I then explain that the British Orthodox Church is part of the Coptic Orthodox Patriarchate of Alexandria, that it is for British people, and I tell them a little about the Orthodox faith. Unfortunately, their parting comment often betrays their confusion. Ah, you do speak very good English. Too often, there is an assumption that orthodoxy is only to be found in exotic places where we encounter it in the course of package holidays, and there's genuine surprise that it has strayed beyond the Eastern Mediterranean, Russia, and the Balkans. Yet we don't find it strange when a Filipino, an African, a South American, or a Pole tell us that they are Roman Catholics because we accept that Catholicism is a worldwide religion. The same should be true of Orthodoxy, but there's still that tendency to restrict it to the East. Journalists enjoy writing about Orthodox services with cliched descriptions of flickering candles, sonorous chanting, ubiquitous clouds of incense, and talk of the remnant of the Byzantine Empire, preferably hiding its splendour in some dingy back street of an Oriental slum. I think we create artificial differences by too great an emphasis on Eastern and Western traditions in Christianity. William Dalrymple, the British journalist, recently wrote in The Spectator, "Christianity is not a Western religion. It was not founded in London, however much the Victorians liked to believe that God was an Englishman, nor in Rome, and still less so in Brussels. It was born in Jerusalem and received its intellectual superstructure in Antioch, the modern Antakya, Damascus, Constantinople, the modern Istanbul, and Alexandria. Those early Christians were now leaving the Holy Land, like the Egyptian Copts, preserved many of the most ancient liturgies, superstitions, and traditions which hold the key to understanding early Christianity, and without which we can never really understand the roots of our own Christian-based culture." So I try to explain to people that Orthodox Christianity is not some exotic import, but is actually indigenous to the British Isles. The Coptic Orthodox Church uses a calendar dating from the election of the Emperor Diocletian in 284 and the beginning of the last great persecution of Christians, hence its name, the Era of the Martyrs. The British Isles also gave its martyrs at this time. St Alban in Verulamium, now named after the saint, Julius and Aaron in Caerleon in South Wales, and others whose names are not remembered. We forget that the Emperor Constantine was actually proclaimed Basilius and Augustus by the legions stationed in York, immediately following the sudden death of his father Constantius Chlorus on the 25th of July, 306. British bishops played their part in the early councils of the Church. 3 British metropolitans signed the decrees of the Synod of Arles in 314, and they were also present at Nicaea in 325, Sardica in 347, and Ariminum in 359. St Athanasius the Apostolic commends the British Church for adhering to the faith at Nicaea, whilst St John Chrysostom was fond of using the British Church as an example of how far the Orthodox faith had spread. He wrote, "The British Isles, which are beyond the seas, and which lie in the ocean, have received the power of the word. Churches are there founded, and altars erected." There's still a tendency to regard British Christianity as having begun in 597, when Augustine established himself in Canterbury. But less than a century earlier, British Christians had been driven to the western extremities by the invasion of the pagan Anglo-Saxons. In fact, the old insular Christianity, often imprecisely referred to as the Celtic Church, was still spiritually vibrant and capable of bold and effective evangelism. It was appropriate, therefore, that a restored British Orthodox Church in 1866 should adopt the See of Iona, whilst Glastonbury has been in use now for over 60 years. By this we signify our spiritual ancestry, which does not require adherence to all the traditions and legends which have come to be associated with Glastonbury, some of which are positively unorthodox. When His Holiness Pope Shenouda III, Patriarch of Alexandria, signed the Protocol of the 6th of April 1994, which incorporated the previously independent British Orthodox Church into the Coptic Orthodox Patriarchate, our religious history was acknowledged by the recognition that we are committed to the restoration of orthodoxy among the indigenous population. Some people have naturally wondered why we joined the Coptic Church in preference to one of the other patriarchates. Our own background was Oriental rather than Eastern Orthodox. Our first bishop, Julius Ferret, 1828 to 1904, whose consecration in 1866 is the origin of our mission, derived his episcopate from the Suryani, or Old Syrian Orthodox Church. Scholars now recognise the close historical links between the Coptic and insular Christianity. We know that the strong monastic tradition of the Christian Celts was closely based on Egyptian models and brought to the British Isles either through the influence of St. John Cassian and St. Martin of Tours, or directly by Coptic monks themselves. The litany of Ongus the Chaldee speaks of the 7 Egyptian monks buried in Diserth Ullid in County Antrim, and Dysart, near Edinburgh, also echoes the monastic desert of the Celtic saints. I would hope that our fundamental understanding of being British Orthodox is based upon our mission to bring orthodoxy to the people of the British Isles, regardless of their own ethnicity. I would deprecate any attempt to create a peculiarly British version of orthodoxy with an artificially fabricated ethos. There are several groups claiming the distinction of being Celtic or Western Orthodox, but it is neither authentic nor desirable. The fragmentary nature or even absence of some records has made it possible for that Celtic heritage to be subject to many and varied interpretations, capable of appealing to the passing fancies and obsessions of a wide range of conflicting views and eccentricities. That is not the same as venerating our British saints and holy places, whilst taking pride in our insular Christian heritage, with its distinctive art and culture. Pope Shenouda has granted us the right to follow the Gregorian rather than the Julian calendar, permitted us the use of the liturgy of St. James, and certainly not expected us to assume an Egyptian Coptic ethnicity. However, it is vital that the British Orthodox belong to an authentic Orthodox tradition, and we have been especially blessed because the Coptic is one of the richest. The great See of Alexandria was only second to Rome in significance. Founded by the evangelist St. Mark, one of the 70 apostles, it gave birth to the great catechetical school and outstanding theologians such as Athenagoras, St. Clement of Alexandria, Origen, St. Dionysius the Great, St. Didymus the Blind, St. Athanasius the Apostolic, and St. Cyril the Great. Constantinople's elevation to second see in 381 was only on account of its status as the imperial capital, and not because of any claims to be of apostolic origin, which were only concocted later. Even today, the Coptic Orthodox Church is one of the most significant Christian communities in the Middle East. The most conservative estimates reckon 6 million Coptic Christians compared to less than 1 million under the 4 Byzantine patriarchates, 10,000 in the Greek Patriarchate of Alexandria, 760,000 under Patriarch Ignatius IV of Antioch, 137,000 under the Patriarchate of Jerusalem, and 8,000 under the Patriarchate of Constantinople. Refreshingly, the Coptic Patriarchate seems to be completely free from the disease of ethnicity, which is so prevalent among the Byzantines. I've never met a Coptic Christian who was anything but inordinately proud of his origins, but not at the expense of other races and traditions. Perhaps this spirit is best exemplified in the pledge made by the new priest before his ordination, which was specifically composed by His Holiness Pope Shenouda. I will seek for the prodigal and try to return him. I will gather in the scattered flock of God. I will not ignore the incapacitated, the rejected, or those who have no one to remember them. I will be patient and long-suffering in dealing with all people, and I will not show partiality to a chosen few, but be equally concerned for all. Perhaps the wider ethnic mix of the Oriental Orthodox family, Ethiopians, Eritreans, Armenians, Syrians, South Indians, Copts, Africans from Kenya, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe and South Africa, and now Britain, has helped to prevent ethnic issues taking control. Now please view Part 2.